Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. LeBron, Giannis, Luka, Steph, Tyrese, the NBA's cream of the crop. They've all punched their ticket to showcase their athletic skills in Indiana, a state just days away from showing the world why basketball is king of the court here, and showcasing why the city of Indianapolis is in a league of its own when it comes to hosting some of the biggest sporting events on the planet. NBA All-Star Weekend, a global intersection of sports, arts, and culture, about to tip off in Indy. More than 125,000 visitors, including some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment, expected to shell out big bucks at local hotels, restaurants, and all-star related events, enough to generate about $320 million into the local economy. That possibly more than 4 million people around the world watching the game on TV. It all adds up to big business and a potential win-win for Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. For more on how big of a win this could be for Indianapolis and central Indiana, we turn to Visit Indy Executive Vice President Chris Gahl, who's downtown now. Chris, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, Gary. I am in the epicenter of all things NBA All-Star Weekend inside the Convention Center, which is one of the major facilities that will be tapped and utilized by the NBA. And they've been moving in this whole week. The signage has been going up, all the preparation. They're usually using half of the Indiana Convention Center for their fan experience, the crossover. And we know tickets are already up 30% year over year. From last year in Salt Lake City, and it's the largest footprint in terms of the fan experience they've had. So they're entrusting Indianapolis to help grow this marquee event.
And this is really the culmination of a long journey. Began back in 2017 when Larry Bird drove that Indy car to deliver Indy's proposal to host the All-Star Game.
I'm glad you mentioned that. This is a copy of what Larry Bird took down in an Indy car in the streets of Manhattan to in 2017.
Let's see that. Show us that. There you go. That was what was delivered, right?
That's a copy of what Larry Larry Bird delivered to the commissioner to say, hey, we want the game in 2021. And we, of course, were successful. And as you had it, we think from a tourist perspective, this year is even better than having it in 21, of course, for many reasons, with Gainbridge being the number one, that it's fully complete and for the world to see.
Hey, Chris, talk about the economic impact, $300+ million. But the NBA All-Star Weekend, that experience, a bit unique because of the global nature. What does that mean in terms of impact on Indianapolis, economic impact, the global nature of this event?
It is global. I'm glad you mentioned that. The audience, in terms of who is tuning in, the visitors arriving. When we look at where they're coming in from, you mentioned the NBA projecting $320 million in economic impact. Those 125,000 visitors, 5 to 6% of those international in arriving, and it's the who's who of arts and entertainment and celebrity and culture and basketball, both present and last leaders. And so we have this unique opportunity, no matter the weather, to showcase Indy with a lot of cranes in the air and a lot of cranes having completed their renovations like Gainbridge Fieldhouse. One of the points that we're most excited about, you have the 1,800 credentialed media who will be bantering about our city. 50 corporations are setting up in Indianapolis. We're talking Google, Nike, Under Armour, Gatorade, AT&T, Amex. These corporations are entertaining C-suite executives, many of which we know haven't been here in a while, if ever. They get to see our city, bounce back as a visitor, bounce back and bring their business, bounce back and bring their family or their convention. And so it's the caliber of visitor that we're really looking forward to as we prepare for not just a one game. This is an entire weekend. Our hotels are commanding a 4-night minimum, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Airbnbs virtually sold out. The downtown has been sold out. We have compression all the way out to Lafayette, Bloomington, even Evansville. In terms of hotel usage.
And so really an opportunity for a sales job to these big corporations. But how about, again, the fan experience, the visual experience, if you will, and what the NBA is doing for the first time with this LED floor?
Talk about stepping into a big floor at Lucas Oil Stadium with the LED imagery on the court. First time they're doing that for any major event. They're testing and kicking it here in Indianapolis, and you can see how it will look on screen and for the fans. And if it shows well, the NBA has gestured they'll use this moving forward to some of their other marquee events and games day in and day out. So we get the benefit of seeing it with sponsor activity and the word Indianapolis on this floor inside Lucas Oil Stadium. course, that is a big win for us because all the games, not only inside Gamebridge, but inside Lucas Oil Stadium, that allows us as a city and state to welcome more fans to see this technology and have a lower entry point for that Saturday night 3-point shootout skills challenge and slam dunk competition.
Well, Chris Gahl, as always, thanks for joining us. Great perspective. We'll have much more next week. We'll be doing our show from downtown Indy to talk about the All-Star game. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Gary.
All right.